All right, so AP Psych, last part of operant conditioning. So this is a schedules of reinforcement. So if you would be raising a child later in life, or for some reason you wanted to become a teacher, this would probably be pretty important to your everyday life. But this will also kind of explain how some things are done reinforcement-wise to you as students too. So schedules of reinforcement. Notice we're not saying schedules of punishment. There are not schedules of punishment because punishment should be issued every time, not every other, but every time they do the bad behavior or the antisocial behavior, punishment should be administered. Whereas rewards, you don't want to over reward people, create spoiled children, ungrateful people. So you need to monitor and figure out your reward system much more detailed than your punishment system. So reinforcement schedules, two basic types of schedules. There's continuous reinforcement. So every single time it occurs, like you are continuously reinforced with attendance every day, every period we take attendance for students who are here. So that is technically on a continuous reinforcement schedule. Even though getting marked here is not necessarily a reward for you, it technically is because you are getting a free education. Positive to this, learning occurs rapidly. Negative, extinction occurs rapidly. Like the reward becomes less desirable. Like if I paid you $20 for every homework assignment you turned in, by the time you get to, or not homework assignment, every classwork and homework assignment you turned in, by the time you get to the third quarter, you would have thousands upon thousands of dollars, and now that $20 is not as rewarding. It's less desirable. The $20 is not as impactful if you have $1 million. If you only have 100, then that $20 is impactful. But continuous reinforcement, rarely does real life provide for this. But if you are trying to get a child, student, or an animal to learn something quickly or learn something in general, you start with continuous, and then later you go to partial. So continuous reinforcement is usually the starting point, and then you finish with partial reinforcement. So partial reinforcement, we only reinforce a response only part of the time. So learning is slower, persistence of the behavior is greater, and extinction is less likely. We respond better to this than this. Continuous we can get bored with. So now reinforcement timing, immediate reinforcers. These are rewards given out directly after the behavior is performed, usually smaller rewards given quicker. Pros, behaviors learn quicker. Cons, can reduce the effectiveness of other rewards, delayed, and can cause extinction of the behavior quicker. Delayed reinforcement, these are usually larger rewards given after an extended period of time, paycheck, diplomas. The pros to this, behaviors learned with delayed reinforcement become more resistant to extinction. Cons, hard to choose, over immediate, instant gratification culture. So a lot of times we end up choosing this when we should have chosen this. Think of when you study, you watch Netflix because it gives you that burst of happiness, but then 2 days later you didn't study for your test, then you're bummed because you got that bad grade. Behaviors with delayed reinforcers are usually more important, more beneficial behaviors, like learning, management of time, things like that are going to help you in the future. Those type of rewards often kind of are more important, but it's hard for us to not take the immediate reinforcement. Partial reinforcement schedules. So you're going to have 4 basic types. They're either going to be fixed, meaning there's a set constant pattern. Everybody knows when that reward is coming. Variable, unpredictable. Interval, it's time to respond. Like your AP test is going to be a certain amount of allotted time. So that's going to be a fixed interval. 70 minutes for 100 multiple choice questions, 50 minutes for 2 free response questions. Everybody gets that. That's a fixed interval. A ratio schedule is based on responses. So a fixed ratio schedule would be, I only grade every 4th homework assignment, so I'm only grading every 4th response. But again, you would know you would miss the first, the second, the third assignment, and then you'd only do the fourth. So that's part of it there. So now when you look at the different schedules, a fixed ratio schedule, set number of responses. So like in Skinner's main study, the rat is rewarded for every 5 times it presses the bar. Notice it does, if it presses it every time, that's not partial reinforcement. That becomes continuous reinforcement. Homework is often measured in questions assigned, number of pages read, not the time spent. So your homework is usually based on a ratio schedule. Variable ratio, the rat's going to be rewarded for every 2nd, 7th, 11th, 13th, and then those numbers would change. Notice the numbers don't repeat, so it does not sure when the rat's not sure when he's going to get a reward. He just knows if he presses that lever, he's going to get rewards the more time he presses it. So one night you have 10 pages, next night 15 pages, the following night 13 pages. Notice those number of pages are changing every night. So this makes it variable. Like if your reading pages were 10 pages every time, then that would be a ratio schedule. Fixed interval, set amount of time, so the rat is rewarded for pressing the bar within 2 minutes. Each of your classes is 40 minutes in length. Every 40 minutes you rotate class. That's a fixed interval schedule. Variable interval, unpredictable amount. So the rat is first it has to press within 3, then next time within 5, 2, then 6. Notice that number doesn't repeat or there's no real pattern to it. And your pop quizzes, you're not sure what day of class necessarily they're going to come, but they're going to come. And it's going to be based on time, since your class is measured in time, an interval schedule. Like if we would take your class schedule from a fixed interval to a fixed ratio, basically what we do, it wouldn't be the amount of time you have in class, it would be the amount of work you get done. So like in AP class, if you finished half of your vocab and half of your chapter reading on Monday, as soon as you did that, even if it only took you 10 minutes, you would then get to go to second period. But that's not how we do your school schedule. We do it by interval, not ratio. You guys would like ratio, but that's not going to happen. And then so a reinforcement schedule summary. Ratio schedules cause a greater response rate. Variable schedules are more resistant to extinction. So you kind of like start with a ratio, then you switch it up to its variable. Continuous reinforcement causes faster learning and quicker extinction. And then immediate reinforcement is often more desirable than bigger delayed reinforcement. So that's basically, so this one helps best with learning. This one keeps the behavior longer. You initiate or enact the behavior longer. And this is becoming the biggest problem in society is we forego this for smaller amounts of this. And then a couple classroom examples of your fixed ratio. Students are given stickers for every three questions answered in class. Variable ratio. On Monday, they're rewarded for every 2 questions. Tuesday, every 5. Wednesday, it's every 3. Note the number of responses is changing each day and does not repeat within a week. Fixed interval. Students are given stickers for answering questions within 15 seconds of the question. And then variable interval, notice those things change as time goes on. Then here's a little kind of an idea of the difference, the benefit of the benefits and drawbacks and differences between continuous and partial. I'm not even sure why I put that in there. Yeah, you can look at it.